I selected, important about this, all four, hands, different colors, different people holding hands together. So governance becomes very, very strong. Now, governance definition is action or manner governing the state. Now, how Sri Lanka state is governed and how it is governed. What do we need? We need the structure. We need a structure. We need processes. We need a structure. We need processes. How it done? Give you an example. Now, recently, after the 20th Amendment, before 20th Amendment, the president will send the names of judges to be appointed. This is about appointment of judges. And the Constitutional Council, earlier it was a Constitutional Council that consisted of the Speaker, the Prime Minister, opposition leader, his two nominees, and 3 from the civil society. 3 from the civil society. Now that was called a Constitutional Council. Now they dropped it by the 20th Amendment. They dropped those 3 independent people and only called it a parliamentary council. To me, I support that because please remember, we have elected people in the parliament. Our sovereignty is with them. So it is they who should decide, not 3 people whom we never voted. So I'm happy with the parliamentary council that is there today. I'm very honest with you. We are happy. Actually, Bar Association of Sri Lanka appointed a committee to look at 20th Amendment. I was part of that. And we strongly recommended that should be the case. We cannot have 3, I'm explaining structure and process. 3 non-elected people in the committee selecting the judges and people of this country. Let it be elected people in the parliament because they are after all elected by you and I. So it is the speaker, the prime minister, the opposition leader, both, and their representatives now deciding that. Now before 20th Amendment, what was it? It was very clear that it was the council who decided the names. Now, vice versa, it is reversed after 20th Amendment. It is basically Constitutional Council recommends. Constitutional Council recommends and the president appoints. They can only give a view. So it is now at the complete discretion of the president. Now remember, Sri Lanka, the president is elected by the people. There are countries, some countries, they are like India, president is not elected by the people. They are elected by the parliament, members of the parliament, who are the representative. In Sri Lanka, we have the parliament elected by the people, we have the president elected by the people. So 2 sovereign bodies. So that's a debate, right? That the president should have the right. Say United States, you ask me, president simply can't appoint a judge. He would nominate, and there are several committees of the parliament who will debate, who will finally question the credibility, his value systems, judges his or her value systems, and open debate. And of course, the president finally decides. So this is what you mean by governance, a structure and a process. Now, I will explain later why this is very important and how it works in Sri Lanka and the world context. Now let me go through one by one principles. Now these are the principles: accountability and transparency. Let me now take this. In the parliament, there is something called COPE, right? Where they look at all the government sector and they can question, they can call the people of the government institutions and question. Now I'm in the press council, we are questioned how we are using funds, how it is done. And so there is a body, a check and balance. Now governance principle is check and balance. There should be always a check. Now I'm in the corporate sector, I was introduced as a person. We always have committees: audit committee, risk committee, human resource committee, and audit committee is an independent committee. Internal auditor is an independent person. He doesn't report to the CEO. Why all this? So that the corporate sector structure is pure, is check and balance. Chairman is separate, CEO is separate in a company. Why? So they are run. CEO runs it, the operation. The board, check and balance. Board, check and balance. Board, take policy decisions. So that's how this works, So accountability and transparency is a very important one. Now, we opposed this whole 20th Amendment initial draft, said Prime Ministers and President thing need not be audited. Now, I opposed it openly, in public and as a bar association. Because we said, no way that, we should take away auditing out. Why? Because that gives you accountability. That gives you transparency, doing things open, so that there is no hanky-panky. There is no under the table. So governing principle is accountability and transparency and responsiveness. The government should be able to respond fast, right? Now see, that's why we have this whole COVID Karyasadhaka Balakaya task force, because you must respond fast. You can't be waiting till you discuss and tomorrow meeting another 1 week time. If there is today a widespread in a particular area, lockdown like this, and that has to be a health crowd and mini crowd, and whether we are going to have the Sri Lanka like LPL, IPL, right? They have to take decisions. You can't be keeping postponing. You can't go next week and take a decision. Whether schools has to be open on the 23rd of November, it has to be taken with all the factors in. We have to respond fast. For that, you need committees, you need systems. Right now, yesterday was a claim about this antigenital test, right? There is a test, there is an approval process. So, but then approval process can't wait and say, we will get all the reports and get it done. We have to respond fast for emergency. So responsiveness is a governance principle. Rule of law is a governance principle.
Any coffee you want. New Zealand, you cannot. This is a true story. In New Zealand, the Prime Minister was turned down from a coffee shop because of coronavirus. Let me explain. Recently, New Zealand managed to flatten the coronavirus curve. Shops, restaurants, movie theaters, and gyms are finally going to open as long as they follow the laws of social distancing measures. The law says that you must keep 1 meter apart from each other, and the number of customers at a restaurant is limited. And in this country, almost everyone follows the law, from the waiter to the Prime Minister. That's why the Prime Minister was turned down from buying coffee, because the shop has reached capacity. This may sound funny, but it's a big deal. In most countries, there are two problems. People don't follow the rules, and politicians are above the rules. And in the middle of a pandemic, that's when problems happen. When a politician is above the law, it sends a signal to everyone else that the law doesn't matter. People will go to the restaurants, hang out with their friends, and ignore social distancing measures. And when the law doesn't matter, pandemics go viral.
The health ministry says another person has died from the coronavirus.
Total of 12,879 cases, confirmed cases of COVID-19.
Now, more than ever, there needs to be respect for the law. From social distancing to public hygiene to travel restrictions. There are no exceptions, not even if you are the president. Because the virus doesn't care who you are. If you catch it, you can spread it and put everyone else at risk. At the end of the day, New Zealand will beat coronavirus because most people respect the law and no one is above it.
As of today, we have only 90 New Zealanders recorded as having the virus, of whom only 2 are in hospital. None of that has been through luck. but rather through hard work.
And when other countries adopt the same
Thank you, Shanal. Thanks. You see what is it? Rule of law. The government should be of laws rather than of men. Government should be of laws rather than of men. We should be governed by laws, my dear friends. I hope in Sri Lanka will this ever happen. Today, entire jungle is cleared by politicians, supporters. That's Sri Lanka. Without rule of law, without the law equal to everyone, we will never prosper. And if you young guys has to get this message very clear, that government should be of laws, not men. Next one is inclusiveness. Any state that went forward is inclusive. What do you mean by inclusive? We all have different culture. I'm a Buddhist, right? I'm a Sinhalese, but there are Sinhalese Catholics, there are Muslims, Hindus. Today Deepavali, right? Today is Deepavali, right? We should be able to enjoy their food. We should be able to, appreciate their culture. The beauty is in diversity. And any country that is not inclusive, that any country that brings in everyone together can never govern well. Best example, Singapore. Singapore has major Chinese, but they allow Malays, they have Indians. You go ask any guy in a Singapore shop, are you an Indian? They would say no, in an angry tone. And they would say, I'm a Singaporean. Now, I love my culture. I love those traditions. But we should be able to appreciate, enjoy. I like to use the word, appreciate, enjoy the other cultures. And that is exactly what Interact gives us. That is exactly what Rotary gives us. To be proud of your culture, but appreciate others, because this gives us a wide opportunity to enjoy and see and meet other culture. Centennial United, this Rotary Club is an amazing example. During Hindu festivals, they create that atmosphere. I've gone for their fun things. It is amazing, right? And amazing, I'm telling you, right? So we have we have proven as young people, you have proven, right, that you believe in inclusiveness. You like your culture, but you like inclusiveness. And you might have to have empowerment and broad-based participation. I like to put this together. There must be young people in the parliament. How many young people are in the parliament? How many ladies are in the parliament? That's crucial. Now, how do we do this? Proportional basis. Now we have issues. I'll just raise few issues for your thoughts. Proportional basis. Yes, proportional representative is good. It gives you by proportion to have it. But what's the other side? Say I'm in the Colombo South electorate of Colombo. There is no MP, member of parliament for my electorate. Entire Colombo district, they get elected. But then what happens? I don't have a representative. So please remember, when I come to democracy, I'll discuss, you will see this difference. But then look at this. JVP got 400,000, 75,000 votes. They have one nationalist MP, and the Jatika Janabala, they got one when they had only 72,000 votes. So there is some funny with our system. So my dear friends, as young people of tomorrow, you have to look at all this. Proportional representation, how we should get women participation in, like Kamala Harris, well, we can, but we have produced a prime minister, we have produced a president, a lady president. We are never to be shy of. Of course, somebody says it is that. But what Sirimao did, as a prime minister, because all you are young, you may have not even heard of her. When India and China, I told you about the country, when they were fighting on a border, it is she who went there to settle it. She was leading the non-aligned group with leaders of the world, right? So yes, she's a housewife, but she got elected because her husband was killed, but she proved her mettle. She proved her powers, being a great lady, right? and with many strong men, unlike today, of Colina de Silva, Dr. N.M. Pereira, all in her cabinet and running as a prime minister. She had proven herself as a true metal, right? So we have proven as Sri Lankans. There is nothing shamed or nothing comparison. We Asians have done it too, especially Sri Lanka, producing the first prime minister woman. But we need some change here. Some system that women are more in the parliament, so that because it's a woman who brings economy to this country, government industry, you name it, foreign employment, you name it, tea industry, you name it, every industry is the ladies who bring money to us. So we need ladies' participation strongly in the parliament, and that's exactly what you young girls and boys must endeavor, so that we have a mother who knows of, I'm a man, I'm a father of 2 kids, but it is a mother who balances things in life. It is they who understand. So we need that lady such strong, they give birth to a child with a lot of pain. We need to give that humanness to a, set up. So we need to look at this whole empowerment and broad-based participation. Next. On this basis, my last point is that it is the separation of powers. Concept is given by Montesquieu as far back in 1748 in the book called Enlightenment in the Spirit of Laws. He says there should be a legislature, executive, and a judiciary, because before this it was a king. One king who was the judiciary, who made the laws, who implemented the law, who decided on the law. It was the king. It was a dictator like Hitler. So in a democracy, right? They said the ideal democracy, you should have a legislature, I like to stress, to make the law and to control finance. That's what exactly the parliament does. Legislature, to make the law. Executive, I like to say, implement the law. Judiciary, decide on the law. I like to reiterate again. Legislature, make the law. Executive, implement the law. Judiciary, decide on the law. See the beauty, of the law. So, and finance. And the new concept building up is there is a fourth estate, media. Now, why it is? Legislature is one who makes the law. Why? Because they are the ones who are representing us. They know the needs of us. And therefore, they make the laws. Then who is the executive president, the prime minister, cabinet ministers, secretaries, and the whole executive? They go and implement the law for whom? Us, the people. And in Sri Lanka, executive, the president, the highest is appointed by the people. Now remember, executive is generally in our part of the world is the commander-in-chief. He's the one who decides whether we should go to against a country, against the war, and it is he who controls. Even in India, where whatever system, the president who decides whether he should go to the war, conflict or whatever. So he's the commander-in-chief of armed forces. So that's how executive is. Then judiciary, when there is a conflict between people, I have a divorce matter, I have a problem with my wife, I have a problem with my neighbor because there is enough sound in the night, there is music in the night. I'm just giving you an example. I need to resort to decide on the law. Then I have a problem with the state. Then I must go to the Supreme Court for a fundamental right case. Then I must go to the courts to effect a writ jurisdiction. So you need to have this balance, But then the judiciary is, one judge is going crazy, doing dirty things. Then in Sri Lanka, legislature can pass a resolution and get him removed. Now that's interesting. Legislature is who? You and I, the people, the participation. And they can remove a judge in Sri Lanka. After an inquiry, after a process, they can remove a judge. I repeat again, they can remove a judge. Now that's a check and balance. Check and balance. So before a law is passed, like what happened in the recent past in the 20th Amendment, people had to go to courts. 39 people went to courts challenging the 20th Amendment. And there is these other people who go and intervene. So court says, these are the articles that has to go before a referendum. Others need not go to referendum. What is a referendum? Is a democracy where everyone vote is taken. So my dear friends, this is a very important one, separation of power. And what is fourth estate? The media. Now, media today, including the social media, is the one that gives us information. And that without information, there cannot be check and balance. There cannot be legislature, executive, judiciary. Judiciary, whatever they do, people must be aware. What if there is a man who is sentenced to death for a murder or a heroin? People must be aware. Then only there will be a deterrent. Other people will not commit an offense. So my friend, that system has to and must work. And therefore, they call it the fourth estate, media. Google and see, you can gather many information.